Hey guys, we're back, and this is for Wednesday, Thursday, for block schedule. You guys need to do a couple things today. Yesterday showed you guys how to get to this point where this is the analogous area. This is going to be complementary colors, and then we're going to do triads on this one. And one of the things I wanted to do is actually to zoom in. And when I originally was saying, hey, don't worry about these tiny little areas, what I want you to go and do is go in and make a selection that actually goes and includes those areas and be as careful as you can, because I actually want to fill this in. If I get that color, get my brush, I can click and click that in. What this ends up doing, it starts up fragmenting the space again, so it doesn't end up with these little bits in here, which just start to look a little ragged. And hair does this naturally, but your forehead really doesn't. So we're going to start to smooth these things out, and like, if I just get my brush tool, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm working on a laptop right now, working with a trackpad, and so if I go in and I try to clear that up, even though it's the wrong color, you get these little round dot things. So make a selection and clean them up. And always Control Z to get out of something. Don't forget to save your projects. So if I want to get this color and I get my brush again, I could go and I can go fill these bits in over here, but I want to actually make this a nice gentle swooping curve, because your head is actually round, just in case you didn't remember. So if I start here, and I'm just going to go real quick for the demo purposes, but I want you guys to actually go and make a lot of clicks in here so it actually has a curve to it instead of being edges like some of the avocados that I've seen. If I can just go all the way up into here, come all the way back down, and I don't want to get into my eyebrow, of course, because that would defeat the purpose of having different colors for different shades. Go get my brush tool. I can make it a little bit bigger. Boom. And if I go to select, deselect, that's going to start to look a lot better than having all these jagged edges. The jagged edges I definitely don't want to have. I can actually click and get rid of some of these over here, but I want to have, actually, I want to go and I want to click here. And I think to have some angles, if I select that middle color, make it like that, and now if I want to select the outside of that area, I can go up to select and select the inverse, and if I get my eyedropper tool, select that color there, get my brush tool, all of a sudden I can go up to that edge. Oops, I just went into my mustache a little bit and make the brush smaller a bit. Go down there, and as you can see, I'm not brushing in where inside here nothing's happening. It's because all of the outside area is actually being selected. And then if I deselect that, so having some angles like on parts of your face, like your cheeks and like around your nose and your cheeks are great. We need to know that your forehead is round now. So having some of these edges in here smoothed out, but smoothed out in a curve, really help out. So on to the new one, because I'm going to show you, a finished one. Here's my face again. We go back up to filter and we do cutout. I've told you, oops, I'm on the wrong layer. So if I click this layer, I go that one, filter, and then I do my cutout filter. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. If I grab my screenshot, that's my analogous color setup. This one here is my complementary setup. This one's going to be in the middle. So get my eyedropper tool. That's going to be my highlight. Go back. And so if I get my paint bucket tool, which is underneath the gradient tool, it's also the letter G. if it's selected to be a paint bucket. Otherwise, if you press the G, it gives you the gradient tool. I can click into my forehead, and once again, this is like what we call roughing in an area. So paint bucket tool is good when you want to get kind of in the ballpark, but it's not the greatest when you want to actually finish a project. You can zoom in and get some of these bits that we can go back and smooth out a little bit later. Sometimes the hardest thing is saying, okay, well, where exactly is the paint bucket? Is it the top left or the top right? Which corner are we actually using? And so I'm going to leave that for you guys to figure out. I just gave you a little tip there, but so these are all highlights. Great. Blue Eyeballs sounds like a really weird band. Boom. Highlights, midtones, shadows. Same difference. Same thing as we did last time. So if I go and I'm going to get, say, I want to take this color for my midtones, and I can zoom in again and use my paint bucket tool, all of this stuff, whatever is connected in the same realm as that tone is going to be a midtone. Like it's going to turn that color. So in here, yeah, down here, yeah. And then if I want to go back, and I'm going to select this darker color here, and then this is what I want you guys to notice. If I go and get my paint bucket tool and actually fill the darkest places in, the color contrast is really huge in between these colors because they're across the color wheel from each other. So the brightness I picked correctly because this one here is brightest. This one's next brightest. I didn't want to use this color, and this is what I wanted to use as for the dark. So you only need to pick 3 of these 5 swatches and make sure that your highlights are brighter than your midtones, which are brighter than your shadows. So the things that are the darkest in my face, you know, and then I'm also going to fill in my glasses because they're actually black. All that stuff. I can go in and fill in the little bits inside my ear, that kind of stuff down in here. Even if I wanted to make these shadows really dark in the t-shirt. The problem with the paint bucket tool is this, and this is why I'm going to teach you how to use it right and when to not use it. When you click it inside an area, it leaves an area that's a bit ill-defined on the outside. If I went back when I clicked in there, yeah, it has this area, but there's 1 pixel wide that basically draws all the way around it. If I click it here, boom, you can see that 1 pixel. Now then you need to go and fix all that stuff. So the paint bucket tool is great. It's not the best for everything, but it gets you in the ballpark. So work hard today, guys. Figure out how you want to do your color schemes, how to actually make these things the way that you want to. Make sure that you're working on the right layer by checking with the eyeball. Sometimes I'll come around to you and be like, click the eyeball on and off. Now you know what I'm talking about. And, you know, I can go in and start filling in these areas too. So if I actually wanted to go and fill in and make my mustache a bit more angular, which the pop artist did, they did more of kind of graphic images that were like comic book. Some of them actually went in. I'm just going to give myself a 1970s mustache because it's going to look really odd and hopefully make you guys laugh a little bit, just because I like to laugh and hopefully you do too. So if I zoom out, Control 0, get my paintbrush and make it bigger, all of a sudden I have this 1970s mustache, and it's a lot more stylized than, say, the one that's actually on my face. And it actually, when you start to weave it in with other areas that are more stylized, it'll start to make a lot more sense. So I'm going to zoom in and do one more little bit so that you guys can get to work. And then we can start to finish these things. I'm going to get all the way up and go up into my sideburns. I'm going to just get all this area here. I'm going to zoom out just so you can see how much of a difference it actually makes when you zoom out. So going from something that's like this and going into this, this is more like an illustration and how we're going to start to work things. These jagged edges, we're going to kind of we're going to work out how we're going to figure those out. But having very strong edge lines that actually work with the structure of your face, it's going to be the best thing. So I'll clean up this cheek over here so you get a little bit more understanding, and then I'm going to finish the recording so you guys can get to work, and before my screen recording actually automatically stops me. So I'm going to go back in this area, and my nose actually comes back around. And some of these, especially on your cheeks, if you have angles on your cheeks, it makes it really interesting looking. I'm going to select that color. Remember, the eyedropper tool is right up here. It's also the letter I on the keyboard. And if I get my, let me go zoom out and do that again. If I go and paint that in and then deselect, now all of a sudden it's starting to look a little bit more like a graphic that you would use possibly in a comic book if it was your own comic book. And then we're all set to rock and roll. So I'm going to get type tool up here, and I'm going to tell you three things. This one over here is analogous colors. So there's one. Boom. I'm going to make a new layer so you can say these are complementary colors, so you remember. There we go. And then now when we move on, we're going to make these. These are triad colors. Boom. Sound good? I hope you guys have fun working on this project. I'm really sorry that I can't be there. I really like working with this project with students, so it's a bit sad for me, but I'm hoping to be back really soon, like on Monday, which is when most of this is going to be due. So that means you guys got to stay on topic, stay on target, and keep working. Sound good? All right, guys. Take care. Thank your sub for me, and we'll talk to you later.